All righty, let's see. Getting into the war in Iran, we're going to be talking about this a lot for the next hour. Former UN Ambassador John Bolton, who's out there endorsing Mitt Romney, is saying that the U.S. should attack Iran militarily right now. Forget about sanctions and assassination programs and blowing things. Just go on in and get it over with. Okay, John, if you feel that strongly about it, here's your rifle. Here's your parachute. We ran out of those nice desert camo fatigues that you could hide in, but we got you one of those bright orange day glow jumpsuits left over from Abu Ghraib. We're going to put you in that. Put your rifle, parachute on, watch your step climbing into that transport aircraft, and we'll call Ahmadinejad and tell him you're on your way into Iran to kick his butt all by yourself. But after that whopper that we were all told about Iraq's nuclear weapons, don't expect us to send our kids along with you to whoop ass on another one of those nations Israel has worked so hard to make an enemy out of over the last 30 years. Take your war, go have fun. We're not coming along. We'll be right back after news and commercials. Stay tuned. Now, on to a more serious subject, the war with Iran. I think it was Henry Kissinger was out there saying just the other day that if you're not hearing the war drums for Iran, there's something wrong with you. And he's absolutely right. You can't ignore them any longer. Israel has ordered the United States to attack Iran, and so the attack is on. The assets are being moved into the place, and I'm not going to go into fine details here, but over the last week and a half here in Hawaii, we're hearing these really big military transport jets going in and out of Hickam. You know, coming in from the U.S. and heading back out over, I presume, to Guam. I really don't know, and I'm not watching, and I'm not keeping count. But they are loud, and they rattle the windows, and it is very, very obvious that a lot of material and assets are being moved. And it's getting kind of ugly. So exactly how do they plan to sell this one to us? You know, we're the population that understands we got lied to about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And they cannot possibly think that we're buying this new crud about nuclear weapons in Iran, because we're not. Now, Paul Joseph Watson is over there reporting that former Israeli intelligence officer Avi Perry is saying that the plan that he is hearing about through his sources in Israel is that Israel is going to attack a U.S. ship in the Persian Gulf and blame Iran for it in order to start the war. I mean, the plan is very simple. Israel has been carrying out these assassinations and sabotage in Iran, and then an American ship in the Gulf blows up, and the media says, oh, see, Iran was taking revenge for those assassinations and sabotage, even though we had nothing to do with it. Now, a story came out earlier today where the Israeli Mossad has been posing as CIA to recruit people for whatever's going to happen in Iran. So the Mossad could pretend to be CIA, get some Iranians and say, we need you to do whatever they're going to do. And the Iranians would do it thinking they're helping America when in fact they're helping Israel against America. And before you dismiss this as kind of, kooky conspiracy theory stuff, remember, Israel has once before tried to start a war by attacking a U.S. ship and blaming somebody else for it. And of course, I'm talking about the USS Liberty. We're going to take a break for commercials. We will be right back. We're going to go to the phones. D in Minnesota. Aloha, D. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Well, I guess briefly this Ron Paul thing, it's almost reminiscent of this rape garbage and this gay girl we heard out of CNN.
Yeah, it is. I mean, CNN has sunk to a new low, and they were already pretty low. They're so low they have to look up to see the gutter, and now they're lower.
Yeah, pretty much. This war with Iran, well, their ideal would be to put in a private central bank. The problem is it's probably going to turn into a thermonuclear war, and then it's not going to matter because at least 1 billion people on this planet are dead.
Yeah, but the rest
the
rest will all be deeply in debt to the private central banks for the next 20 generations. I mean, to a money junkie.
Nobody's getting up.
To a money junkie, the population of the world is about, 5.5, 6 billion right now? So if you wipe out 1 billion of them,
7 billion now.
7 billion now. So if you wipe out 1 billion and the other 6 billion are in debt to the bankers for the next 5 generations, that's a heck of a good deal. I mean, Germany only paid off their debts from World War I about 2 years ago. So, of course, it's time to start a new world war. Get everybody back into debt. That's how the bankers maintain their power and control. Nation A and Nation B are living in peace and harmony. They're very wealthy. They're free of debt. Everybody's happy. So the bankers go over to Nation A, and they hire a bunch of reporters, and they bribe a bunch of politicians, and they say, you know, Nation B is coming to get you if you don't attack them first. We'll loan you the money for the weapons. So Nation A attacks Nation B without provocation, and Nation B says, what the heck's going on here? And the bankers go over to Nation B, and they say, boy, you're under attack here. You'd better be ready to defend yourselves, and we'll loan you the money to buy more weapons. And so both Nation A and Nation B are borrowing money from the bankers, and they're throwing weapons at each other and killing each other off. And then the war is over, and it doesn't matter who won or lost because they're both in debt to the bankers. And now the bankers go back to both countries and say, we'll loan you the money to rebuild. And when it's all over, Nation A and Nation B are pretty much exactly what they were before the wars, except the graveyards are a lot bigger. And now they are in debt to the bankers for the next 5 to 10 generations. That's the scam. That is what they're doing right now as they head into Iran. They're going to trade the blood of your children for gold in their pockets.
Yeah, and that would be the light end of it. Like I said, if it turns into a thermonuclear war, I think a billion would be saying a light estimate. But as far as this nuclear scientist goes, Israel the other day just about admitted it in the Jerusalem Post that they did it. And Iran is saying they're thinking about retaliating. There was a
no. Be very careful. That one story about Iran is going to retaliate came from an anonymous intelligence expert, meaning it's Mossad. They're putting words into Iran's mouth yet again in order to be able to pre-sell the idea Iran's going to do something so that when you hear the Big Bang and see that flash of white light and the bodies of your kids spinning through the air, everybody will say, oh yes, must have been Iran. Remember back in August of 2001, and the media was pre-selling Osama bin Laden, he's bad, he's evil. He was getting all this coverage on the corporate media, and he hadn't done anything. And I was still on good terms with Free Republic at the time, and I wrote an article, and I said, I've worked in advertising. I've won Clio's. I know advertising and public relations. And this is a pre-sale. They're selling this guy as the biggest criminal come along since the Wicked Witch of the West. They're going to do something, and this guy's going to get blamed for it. And sure enough, 9/11, the buildings were still on fire, hadn't even collapsed yet, and they were saying, oh yes, this is the work of Osama bin Laden. We must go invade his country.
Yeah, they were saying that night that it was Osama bin Laden, and nobody had even started investigating it yet or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
That 9/11 thing.
Absolutely.
They'd even said it, but Israel pretty much admitted to it. It was in the Jerusalem Post.
Well, they didn't need to admit it. We all knew it was them right from the start because this is what they do. This is their standard method of operations.
Yep, they plant these sticky bombs and detonate them.
Yep.
Apparently that's how this... And this scientist wasn't even really working on the nuke program. He was just in procurement, and they did that to him.
Well, he was a professor at the school and everything, but, the idea is to send a message to Iran that we're going to just kill your people and blow up your buildings until you quit, building a power station. And, of course, that is terrorism. When you use violence or the threat of violence to coerce a change in policy, that is defined as an act of terror under the USA Patriot Act. So Israel is a state that sponsors terror, and the U.S. government is forcing you to give them your money.
Yep, we're being forced to sponsor a bunch of terrorists.
Yes, we are. And we have been all along. And we have been all along. I mean... you got to step back and take a look at the United States government as it is right now. I mean, we got torture, we got secret torture prisons, we've got concentration camps. The Bill of Rights has been all but eviscerated at this point. They're trying to find some way they can shut down the internet and the blogs and the alternative media so they can go on about this Fourth Reich, this project for the new American century. We're going to go conquer the world and force them to do their banking the way we think they should do it. And if we had a banking system that worked for the betterment of society, I might suggest go over and just say, hey, look what we got, it's going to work. But these countries know the private central banking system is screwed. That's why they don't want to have it. So they have to be forced to accept it at the point of a bayonet. Remember when this whole thing in Libya started, the first thing the Libyan opposition said is, yes, as soon as we win, we will put in a private central bank. They know what it's all about. They know what this is about.
Syrian opposition, they were on Israeli TV saying that if the West would help them overthrow Assad, they'd open up relations with Israel.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now it looks like the U.S. is going to go.
I'm not lying about this one.
The U.S. is getting ready to go back into Egypt because the government of Egypt is changing. They're going through a second soft, low-intensity revolution, and the new government coming in is saying, we're not going to honor the treaties with Israel that the previous government had. Because remember when the first revolution in Egypt happened, I said the very worst mistake the new government of Egypt can do is start acting like the old government. And by golly, they did. They made that mistake. They said, all right, we're going to go back to being friends with the U.S. and friends with Israel, and they're going to get our gas at below market rates, and we're just going to, everything's going to be hunky-dory. And, of course, that was exactly what the people of Egypt said, no, we're not going to have that anymore. And so that's heating up again.
What the Muslim Brotherhood over there was saying was that they're going to put the peace treaty to a referendum. I'd seen the news articles about it. They were going to put it up for a vote, is what they had said.
Well, I think voting is a good thing, but the problem is right now we've got this global company that's going to run elections for everybody on planet Earth, and there's no way to double check it. There's no audit. There's no paper trail. This is the big red button. When you are born, you'll be shown a big red button. You say, you push that, boom. Okay, everything that we do from now on to you is what you just voted for. That's as blatant and as obvious as it's going to get. All righty?
Yeah, it did, but I just wanted to make those points, and that was the reason I had called in, was to make those few points. And not to forget, 3 years ago at this time, Cast Lead was going on. 1,400 people were butchered, another 5,000 were murdered.
Well, as soon as the U.S. goes into Iran, Israel's going to go into Gaza again and just finish them all off while everybody's looking over at Iran.
You think so? Well, they've got
absolutely.
the order to do it.
And Lebanon. They're trying to goad Lebanon, and Syria's probably going to get whacked as well. This is the final go-around. The U.S. government and Israel understands they have run out of forgiveness and tolerance and basically the ignorance of the world's population. We know what's going on. So this next one they get going is going to be the big final push, and it could go all the way to nuclear war with Russia and China. I got to let you go here, Dee. I got to finish up on a couple of things before the end of the show, and we head into the weekend.